welcome to beautiful New Hampshire, Concord, the capital. And just about 6 miles to the east and 12 miles north, where Daniel Webster gave some of his greatest speeches. The NASCAR Busch Series faithful have come in here. They'll see a doubleheader today. The NASCAR Busch Series and the Busch North cars will go 100 miles following. On FX, we'll see the NASCAR Busch Series race 200 miles today on the flat 1 mile oval of Loudon, New Hampshire. 80-degree temperature, track temperature 113 degrees, variable light winds, and rain in the distance. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Loudon. Mike Joy with Larry McReynolds. Darrell Waltrip has Mother's Day weekend off. Well, we have a flat track that races like a short track, has the length of the super speedway, a 200-mile race that's going to be tough on fuel calculation, but also, Larry, a new rule that's really going to affect the handling of these cars.
Yeah, NASCAR made a rule change in the Busch Series this week, and it all has to do with front springs. All year long, you've been hearing Darrell and myself talk about getting the cars on the ground, getting the front ends down. How teams did that was with soft front springs. To do that, you had to have tall front springs, 10 3/4 inches tall, almost as tall as the rear springs. So NASCAR said, okay, your spring cannot be taller than 8.5 inches in the front of these cars, so that will make them have to put stiffer springs in. Also, they said no rubbers in the front springs, because when you put rubbers in springs, it makes them stiffer when you travel them, so they could put softer springs in. So mandated height of springs, no spring rubbers in the front of these cars. Everybody's running stiffer front springs.
So a little scrambling going on in the garage area. This is a homecoming for several of us, for me, for Dick Bergeron, and for the driver we're about to meet. Dick?
Shelburne, Vermont's Kevin LePage. He's a local hometown favorite. He's in the car the team won with last week in Richmond, Virginia. He has finished as high as third here in this series at New Hampshire. How about it? You going to take the trophy home?
Well, I'll tell you, the guys did a great job preparing this yellow Monte Carlo today, and wouldn't be surprised to see this thing in victory lane like Spencer did last week.
Okay, good luck to you. To Jeff Hammond.
Thanks, Dick. Rookie Ryan Newman starts in 5th place in his first trip into Loudon, New Hampshire. Ryan, what do you think about the track?
Really neat racetrack, kind of back to short track style racing. Really good qualifying effort with the Altel Ford, and just want to take the opportunity to say hi to Don Miller back in Mooresville, recuperating a little bit.
Good luck today. And we also want to wish Don Miller a speedy recovery. Mike Joy?
Thanks, Jeff. Everyone is ready for opening ceremonies here at New Hampshire International Speedway to get our 200-mile NASCAR Busch Series race underway. Let's go trackside.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, direct your attention to the start-finish line. Today's invocation will be given by the Reverend Dean Stiles, who is pastor of the United Methodist Churches of Lancaster and Jefferson, New Hampshire. Reverend Stiles.
Let us pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the awesome day that you have given us as we gather here today, the first of the 2001 season here at New Hampshire International Speedway. We ask for your protection for each driver who will compete this day and for each member of their crews. May each driver use caution so that all may cross the finish line at the end of the race. We also ask for your blessings upon the Bear family and their commitment to the NASCAR family. In closing, we take a moment to remember those drivers whom we sadly miss this day but hold near to our hearts. For Adam Petty, Kenny Irwin, Tony Roper, and Dale Earnhardt. They are gone from our presence, but they will remain in our hearts forever, until the day that we too will join them in your presence in your heavenly kingdom. Guide, protect, and sustain all who are here today. We pray this in the name of our risen Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
And now for the Star-Spangled Banner, Betsy Gates.
What so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare
do it.
And here to give the command that will send the field on its way in the CVS Pharmacy 200, presented by Bayer, is our Grand Marshal, Phil Keough.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
We're set to go racing in Loudon, New Hampshire. 200 miles of NASCAR Busch Series action on FX. Coming your way next. Welcome back to New Hampshire International Speedway, the CVS Pharmacy 200 presented by Bayer. Yesterday's race, and here's the lineup. Kevin Harvick has his third pole of the season. He and series champ Jeff Green in the front row.
Steve Park, normally on the Winston Cup, won here in Modifieds and in the Busch North Series.
Back in row 3, there's rookie Ryan Newman in his first New Hampshire appearance with veteran Mike Skinner.
Kevin LePage in that number 1 car that won at Richmond last week with Jimmy Spencer. Jimmy stayed home. Kevin was third here in the 98 race. Kenny Wallace won this race in 91 when it was a 300-miler.
Mike McLaughlin, the 97 winner, has also won here in Modifieds and Busch North.
Greg Biffle, first DNF of his Busch career last week at Richmond.
Randy LaJoie, former series champ. This is his homecoming race as well.
Jimmy Johnson, he started and finished 13th last year in his only New Hampshire start.
Now that 17 is not Matt Kenseth, that's Clay Roberts making his third start of the year.
Jay Sauter, he won in the Truck Series here in his very first start.
Kevin Grubb, first Busch start and first top 10 here.
Jamie McMurray, his best 2001 finish was 11th back at Daytona.
Ashton Lewis, you met earlier, his best finish of the season, 11th at Texas. David Donahue, they painted a bullseye on his car. It's been run into so much this year. Wonder where they got that idea.
I believe from ODW. How about Marty Houston? The rookie has competed in 2 Craftsman Truck Series races here.
Another of our young guns, Scott Wimmer, had a strong 7th at Richmond. Bobby Gerhardt, third race this year in the series, first Busch race. Only 37 cars will start. Robbie Faggart, the last one. Mark Green qualified the backup Larry Foyt car, but that was withdrawn. Dick Berggren.
As we approach the green flag, know that the drivers in this event are the most courageous athletes to participate in any sport this day. Each understands that last year, over 3 NASCAR weekends, 2 of their own lost their lives racing at this track. The drivers understand the danger they face. Today, they will continue in the tradition of racing. They will go on driving as hard and as fast as they possibly can. The courage of these racers deserves notice and applause. These are brave, brave men.
Absolutely. Today's race will go 200 laps, just over 200 miles on this speedway. 37 cars, as we mentioned, a short field here in New Hampshire.
You notice we put a little mark right here by pit window. Reason we did that, it's a 200-lap event. A year ago, cars could do it on one stop. More horsepower, Winston Cup style engines. Big iffy doing it on one stop this year.
A big iffy.
A big iffy.
We'll see a lot of different strategies. An early caution, maybe a splash and go. Maybe 4 tires early, 2 tires later, maybe not. As we look at some of our onboard cameras, we'll have 6 of them in use today. And we're getting set for the green for 200 miles on what they call the Magic Mile. The New Hampshire International Speedway, Bob and Gary Bear's beautiful speed plant, and green is on.
Kevin Harvick doing just what he did yesterday in qualifying and in happy hour. Everybody in the garage area said the 2 car is the car to watch.
They hope they're not watching it from a distance. Things sorted out pretty well single file through the first 4 cars. Harvick, Jeff Green, Steve Park, and Ryan Newman, they're side by side for 5th, entering turn 3.
Got quite a battle right here. Mike Skinner in the 21, Jason Keller in the 57. Mike Skinner had a fast race car all day yesterday, qualified 6th. His throttle was hanging qualifying, he told me this morning.
Wow.
He said that will get your attention. Mike Skinner, the 21 car. Now, he will not be in that car next week at Nazareth. They're going to put a Busch North driver, Teddy Christopher, in that car for the race on Sunday after the Winston.
Trouble down the back straightaway. A crash into the infield tire wall. Now, that's where the road course goes to the outfield. That's the 17 of Clay Rogers, one of 2 cars involved. The other is 43.
Yeah. Jay Sauter.
But those tires are piled there for a reason during the sports car and motorcycle events. They're on the asphalt of turn, what there is turn 3, and you see where it crosses the track to go to the outfield road course section. But it puts us under caution quickly. And now, Larry, let's talk strategy right away. All right, you've only run a couple of laps in those pace laps. Now you got a caution period. Do you splash and go?
Well, I think if I'm one of the cars at the very back of the field, yes, but I don't think this is enough laps that will do it. But the thing that will add up in fuel mileage is caution laps. Remember, 2 caution laps equal 1 green lap. These guys that was maybe in that 95 lap range, they possibly could do it with enough cautions.
Jamie McMurray inside of Rogers. Here comes Sauter.
Looks like Jay Sauter in the 43. Something you get here a lot is that late exit off the corner push. The car won't turn. His car just went up into Clay Rogers.
This track is so flat, not a lot of banking to help you up off the corner there in turn 2. Jeff Hammond?
Yeah, I'm down here in the 17 car pit of Clay Rogers. Right now they're trying to move all of their crash equipment back into the garage area to repair the car. He's finally got the engine started. He'd reported in that the engine would not turn over, thinking they maybe had an engine problem. Now they're starting to settle back down. They've got it running. I guess he'll be coming back out on the racetrack now.
Looks like he's going to come back in the ambulance, make a quick trip to the care center, and they'll haul that back to the garage. Jay Sauter going to the garage with a lot of damage to his number 43. 3 laps and already the first caution of the day. Jay Sauter and Clay Rogers tangling off turn 2. So we're under yellow in the NASCAR Busch Series on FX. Welcome back to Loudon, New Hampshire. 3 laps under green, 4 under caution now as they remove Clay Rogers' car. And you can see at least the rear end of that's been knocked pretty well to the left askew. Let's watch on board. See what happened. This is riding with Clay Rogers.
Coming off turn 2 right here. He's holding his line right there. You see he just got hit right in the left rear by the 43 car. Again, nothing I don't think Jay Sauter did intentionally. Lasts forever.
Now that tire wall absorbs quite a bit of impact there, as we'll see.
Just something that happens at this racetrack. You know, you get the car turned in the middle of the corner, you're on the throttle, all of a sudden you get to go on the straightaway and the front end just don't bite into the racetrack right there on the late exit.
Oh, there's what happened to the right front when he spun off the tire wall. What that tire wall does is it sucks in, and that cushions the impact, but what it does, it draws the car into you, which then sends it out in a counterclockwise spin. I have unfortunate first-hand knowledge of that. And that banged up the right front of Rogers' car, which they are going to fix. Dick Berggren.
Well, Jay Sauter is in the garage area. Car is up on jack stands, pretty well beaten up. What happened out there?
I don't know. It's everybody was trying to get down low, and I don't know if somebody got loose. The 17 and I got together, and just all heck broke loose from there. Just want to say Happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. We'll get this quality farm and country back together, and we'll get out there and see what we can do.
It's going to take an awful lot of work to get this car out there. This thing is really trash, Mike.
Thanks, Dick. Tough break for Sauter.
All right, you see the 17 car. They've taken to the garage area on the rollback. This is only Clay Rogers' 3rd start. You may say, why are they going to try to get the car back out there? Remember, the 17 car runs all of the races. With Matt Kenseth at a lot of races, with Clay Rogers, they are 6th in owner points, which is very important. That's what provisionals and everything's based off of.
And Jay Sauter is 13th in points, so both of them will try to get back out. The other car that's gone to the garage is the 64, the second Joe Bessie car, Steve Hodgson of Muirfield, England, in what I believe is his 2nd start. Made those first 3 laps and then got pushed back to the garage area. So one lap and we'll go back to green. NASCAR lost a legend this week, Henry Smokey Unick, 77 years old, passed away in Daytona Beach. Gosh, we could do hours of Smokey stories, but one of my favorites was he was giving a speech on a cruise liner talking about Rusty Wallace's stock car, and he says, you know the best thing about this car? There isn't a darn computer in it. He says, we're going to take all those computer engineers, put them on the second boat, take it out here in the middle of the ocean and sink it. And he let that sink in, everybody laughed a little, and he says, we're going to put all the lawyers on the first boat.
But what a great mechanic, what an innovator, what an engineer, dedicated to making horsepower.
This sport will miss him.
Mike, we've run about 6 caution laps. Those guys right on the board are being able to do this on one stop. All of these cautions, they continue to help. And we'll keep stressing that because track position, staying on a racetrack is so important here.
Larry, if you were 25th on back, would you have come in with one to go to top off?
I may have come in maybe if I was 28th or 29th on back. Absolutely. Green flag's out.
Kevin Harvick picks up where he left off, with Jeff Green and Ryan Newman in tow, then Steve Park and Mike Skinner. Jason Keller in 6th, Kevin LePage in 7th. Then it's Andy Santerre, Bobby Hamilton Jr., and Joe Bessie getting a challenge from the 60 of Greg Biffle. That's back in 9th place.
Ryan Newman all over the back of Jeff Green in that 10 car. He wants that second position. He's going to get it here going into turn 1. Jeff Green knows too early in the race to push the issue getting into turn 1.
The straightaways here, Larry, that front straightaway is not quite Pocono wide, but I mean it's 5 cars wide if you want to push the issue.
But it narrows down when you get to turn 1 in a hurry. A lot of the teams brought their Nashville cars here. Steve Park, same car that or his Richmond car, same car he ran at Richmond, same car Mike Skinner in the 21 ran at Richmond. Jeff Green in the 10 car, that's a brand new race car for him. He will be testing Dover, Delaware Monday and Tuesday in that RCR number 30 car, which is Kevin Harvick's crew.
Now Kevin LePage hoping against hope that this race does not fall to rain because he cannot come back tomorrow. He and the Morgan McClure Winston Cup team testing tomorrow evening at Kentucky.
There's a lot of people here that we'll have to come back tomorrow, but we don't need to come back tomorrow. You and I, Mike, we'll take ourselves right out of Husband of the Year running.
Well, you'll get the double. It's not only Mother's Day, your wife's birthday tomorrow.
Absolutely.
So you won't be here tomorrow, no matter what. That's Andy Santerre in the 0-1. A homecoming race for the Cherryfield main driver. Looking over Kevin LePage. And Hamilton Jr. looking in right there, and Biffle right behind them. I'd say that's the pack that's going to get racy here in a couple of laps, right there.
I guarantee you they will here just shortly.
Back up toward the front, Ryan Newman drawing in on Kevin Harvick, who's led every lap so far. Jeff Hammond. Yeah, trouble, turn 3. Hamilton got in the back of LePage. I said it would get a little racy there.
And it did.
And LePage ends up in the fence.
Caution is out.
What often happens at this racetrack is one driver will make a dive bomb pass into the corner, and the other driver on the outside, he's already committing to the corner, not expecting the pass. That may have been what happened
And
here.
if you get off the bottom of the racetrack, it is very slick up there till they can get some rubber down on that part of the racetrack. A lot of damage to the rear of that car. This is the same car that Bobby Hamilton Sr. drove at Nashville a few weeks ago for this team.
And LePage coming in and going right to the garage. Here's what happened as we approach turn 3. Now Santerre makes the pass. Here comes the dive bomb. Hamilton. Just wasn't room right there for 2 cars, Larry.
No, there wasn't. Kevin LePage was needing to get to the bottom, but they're just, as you said, they run out of racetrack right there in the corner, hard in the outside wall.
Another angle of it. Yep.
I'm not sure that Kevin LePage knew Bobby Hamilton Jr. was even there.
He may well not have. And until they got right to the corner, Hamilton wasn't there.
Too late then.
He came in and the door slammed Unfortunately, the new hinges are going to have to go on the number 1 car of LePage. A few pit stops here under caution. We'll be right back.
This one's for you, Mom. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, everyone, and we are going back to green at 20 laps. Steve Park with a look inside Ryan Newman for second. Now, several cars made pit stops for fuel, including Jeff Green and Chad Little, Larry Foyt, Marty Houston, David Donahue were in for fuel.
And obviously the most notable, Jeff Green, went from 3rd to 27th, but that makes him have 184 laps to go. Talking to Harold Holly, the crew chief, this morning, they feel strongly they could do it on 2 92-lap runs from here.
Elton Sawyer, carrying the colors of the University of Connecticut, up against Mike McLaughlin, who's won here in just about everything he's driven. In fact, McLaughlin won the doubleheader in the Busch and the Modified Series on the same day. It was kind of a neat double here. Running 12th right behind Sawyer. Or make that 11th just ahead of Elton Sawyer. That's Kenny Wallace just ahead.
Like right now, everybody just kind of patiently wanting to see some laps wind down here. Running single file right at the bottom of the racetrack. Get a little rubber in that upper groove. We'll see a little more side-by-side racing.
And we're told the 17 of Clay Rogers and the number 1 of Kevin LePage will not return. This car's done for the day.
The interesting strategy with Harold Holly and Jeff Green, and they've moved up to 25th position here in a few laps. It's so hard to pass here, and I know that had to be a gutsy call for Harold Holly to take his race car and go from 3rd to 27th. But again, Goodyear's brought that harder tire here. I think it will last for a long time. It was gutsy then, but I think it'll pay off for him on into this race.
A lot of work done on this speedway. They brought in a laser leveling system to ground at turn 2 and a bit at turn 3 and 4 to try to smooth this track off after what was a very rough New Hampshire winter. And this track will be resealed before the Winston Cup cars come back here in July. Riding with Hank Parker Jr., Tim Sauter going by to the inside.
Got Ashton Lewis, I think, in the 46 car that's down in turn 1 and 2. We're hearing that he has no power. I think he'll make it back to pit road, but he's awfully slow. About a third of the way down the backstretch, you see the leaders go by right here.
All right, let's go to the garage area and Jeff Hammond.
One of the pre-race favorites, Kevin LePage, had an early afternoon. What happened, Kevin?
Well, Jeff, the yellow freight, or yellow Monte Carlo was a little tight there, and I lost the nose coming out of turn 2, and I had to get out of the gas, and Andy Santerre got underneath me, and I let him go, and I just fell in behind him, and next thing I know, I got turned around. So either I didn't give the guy behind me enough room, or he didn't give me a shot to get in. But I just hate it for all the guys. You know, we're just up here to do a good job for Yellow and all the guys from James Spence Racing, and we had a good race car, but it's over with now.
Car doesn't look that bad, Kevin, when I see you not fixing it, though.
Yeah, we're going to load it up. You know, we're not points racing anymore, and we'll just go home.
Sorry about that. Mike?
There's Kevin Harvick across the line. Ashton Lewis will just barely make the head end of pit road. The problem is he is pitted down toward turn 1, I believe.
And he is on pit road now.
Yep.
He has made it to pit road.
26 laps complete. Kevin Harvick has led them all as Jason Keller has a look inside Mike Skinner and is not going to be able to take 4th place away. So it looks like we may have a good sustained green flag run here at Loudon. You're watching the CVS Pharmacy 200 presented by Bayer on FX. Today, NASCAR and FX is at Loudon, New Hampshire. The NASCAR Busch Series racing 200 miles, 32 laps complete. Kevin Harvick has led them all. Harvick led the most laps at Bristol and at Texas.
Mike, this is that old favorite car. They run it about 17 times last year. One St. Louis, one Bristol. It's not the car they won Texas with earlier this year. This race car has been a great race car to them.
Harvick out-qualified the field by about 0.2 of a second. Has led every lap. Ryan Newman's fought his way to second. Steve Park holds third. Mike Skinner fourth. Jason Keller fifth. Andy Santerre worked his way up to sixth. Now, we've talked a lot about fuel mileage and strategy for today's race. Let's get the pole winner's strategy to Berger.
Well, last year, Harvick had a pretty good run for a while. He led 15 laps, but then he got into a jingle with Ricky Clayman, had a flat tire, lost his chance to win. The game plan this year, they have come with virtually the identical setup, despite the fact that the engines this year have much more horsepower. Strategy, very simple. Stay out front. Crew Chief Todd Barrier told me this morning it is so hard to pass on this place that they absolutely want to stay out front all day long if they can. They cannot make it on one stop. They can only go about 85 laps on a tank. This will be a two-stop strategy for Harvick.
So at 35 laps complete, a pit stop now would make it a one-stop race.
Yeah, definitely. If we got a caution right now, I think the only car that'd be questionable coming to pit road would be Jeff Green.
Right.
But if we run too far, he's probably going to go ahead and get his tires, because I think the earlier in the race they can get their tires on Jeff Hammond, the better off you're going to be.
Larry McReynolds, because everybody knows when you come to a short track like this, it doesn't make a difference if it's a mile long or if it's a half-mile racetrack. When you got one groove, it's working low, it's hard to pass. So you got to get your tires early so you can get track position late in the race.
And all that from a fellow who was driving a pig in the free race.
Yeah, he had track position on Dick Berger.
Yes, he
I've
did.
seen that for sure.
Ryan Newman wondered if he was maybe holding up Steve Park a little bit here. Park breathing his car to the inside in the back straightaway. That's quite a lineup right behind Mr. Newman.
And when you tell your driver here when you're a crew chief, you just say, run the bottom of the racetrack. Make them go around you on the outside. They're going to have to be a lot faster than you to pass you on the outside. Mike Skinner in the 21 car, this is his 6th race in this season. What a turnaround this team has had. When he started driving this car 5 races ago, they was 26th in owner points. They have now climbed after 5 races with Mike in the car to 11th in owner points.
Wow.
And you just can see the chemistry between Mike and Gil Martin and that whole group.
Larry, were a lot of crew chiefs really unsure what to do with this new spring rule. That they couldn't run any spring rubbers in the front of the car, and the spring was limited in a certain height range to how you have to start the race and qualify.
Well, I think there's a lot of teams, they have got acclimated to running these soft springs. I mean, softer springs almost than you would run in the rear of the car. 300-pound springs, 400-pound springs. I mean, just super soft. So I think the teams that have been doing that, yes, it did throw them a curveball. There's a lot of teams that hadn't. Dick Berger, what's going on down there?
Well, you're talking about curveballs for some of these teams. Yesterday, I was in Ryan Newman's garage, and I counted the number of springs lying on the floor. 19. Trying to come up with a set of 4 springs that would meet the rules and also let the car run as fast as they wanted to go. These guys in the O2 have absolutely thrashed with this new spring rule.
The rule has also gone into effect this weekend in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, as well as here in the Busch Series. Ashton Lewis returns to the track after spending some time in the garage. Here's our leader, Kevin Harvick. He has a 1.7-second lead on Ryan Newman, and he's led all of the 40 laps so far. You're watching the NASCAR Busch Series on FX. .45 laps complete. In working lap traffic, Kevin Harvick has now opened up a 2.5-second lead on Ryan Newman, who has a snarling pack behind him. And a moment ago, as they lapped a car, Mike Skinner tried to get inside Steve Park and take him 3 wide in turn 3. Thankfully, that separated out before it became disastrous.
We'll keep talking about spring rubbers, and again, the Busch Series, now they cannot qualify or start the race with a spring rubber. We're going to show you exactly a spring rubber. This is on a rear spring, but it serves the same purpose on a front spring. This is a spring rubber right there, made out of rubber. Pull the rubber out, softens that spring. Put the rubber in, stiffens that spring. Now, on the Busch Series now, they can use this adjustment in the race. They can add a spring rubber to the front spring, but they cannot qualify or they cannot start the race with a rubber in the front spring. They can do whatever they want to still in the rear springs.
Now, we were talking about something that happened while we were away. Got to show you this. This is called trying to take advantage of a situation. There's Skinner in 21 looking inside park as they lap Larry Foyt. Oh, not enough room for that.
Not wide enough for 2 cars, especially 3 cars. Very close right here on our 3rd and 4th place car.
But it illustrates the chances people will take, or who will, will at least take a look at, because it is so hard to pass here.
It is that. Jeff Green in the 10 car, remember, he restarted in 27th position. He's made his way up to 20th, but he's been having to deal with all these cars. We watched him fight Rich Bickle a while ago. It took him 10 laps to get by Rich Bickle. He was probably a half a second quicker than Rich, but could not pass him.
Larry, how many crew chiefs came up to us in the garage this morning and said, if you could just tell me what that 2 car is doing?
He has been the class of the field here all weekend. Again, when you win the pole by 2/10, you're fast. He was fast in half the hour. And I asked Todd Barrier, I said, Todd, what do you think about the new spring rule, the spring rubber rule? And he said, well, I'm not happy about it, but you know what? We're going to have to deal with it. That's the attitude you've got to have, Dick Berggren.
Remember that number 21 car of Mike Skinner is a team car of the number 2 Kevin Harvick, and they have changed notes, so they all know what each other has got. The 2 setups are pretty close. Skinner's strategy, quite simply, is to keep the fenders on until the end. And then he told me he's just going to tear them off if he has to. He wants to wear the car out, not tear it up until the very end of the race, because Mike Skinner in the 21 has a very good race car. He just hold it off until we get some more laps in.
Well, that team likes Mike Skinner's attitude, and they do. They're going to love Ted Christopher next week. Fenders, he usually races modifieds. They don't have fenders to start, let alone finish with.
All they've got is a little bit of sheet metal on the roof and on the doors, and that's it.
That's all you need. Next Saturday, NASCAR's All-Star Night. Lowe's Motor Speedway, the Winston, will be there to bring it to you on FX.
Man, the closer we get to that, when they push those cars out there and it's 9 o'clock at night and those teams got their qualifying motors in there and everybody's got their game face on, 70 laps, no points, no hose barred, just a lot of money.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Jeff Green having a look at Jeff Purvis. You're riding with the MBNA cam on board Purvis's number 18.
Now the thing, Jeff Green, Harold Holley, his crew chief, what they need now with us showing 52 laps, they've done made this commitment to do it on one more stop. They need this race to go green flag all the way, because now, being here in 20th position, we've run so far, if a caution comes, they would have to put tires on. They would have to. They need a green flag race. He's going to get underneath Jeff Purvis here off turn 2.
Makes the pass. Next car ahead is Fedor, some distance further up the racetrack. 53 laps complete. It's now a 4-second lead. Kevin Harvick trying to wear them out here at Loudon, New Hampshire on FX. Coming up at 4 p.m. Eastern on FX, Mike Piazza and the New York Mets visit Pac Bell Park to take on Barry Bonds and the San Francisco Giants in a rematch of last year's Division Series. It's all right here on FX, part of the Fox Networks, your home for NASCAR and Major League Baseball. Kevin Harvick, driving for Richard Childress, led the most laps at Bristol, the most laps at Texas, and he has led all 58 laps here. Now Jeff Green made a pit stop back at lap 16 as he pulls up on Tim Fedor. Green, who got gas only, trying to fight his way back to the front with a fast race car.
Boy, look at that race car right through the middle of the corner, right on the bottom. That's where you pass people. You beat them through the middle of the corner, and you beat them back to that throttle down the straightaway.
Dick Berggren?
Well, realize that when Green took that gas stop, he was really virtually dead last in the field. He's now running an 18th spot, and his crew is telling him lap after lap that he has the fastest car in the field. And get this, he's complaining that that thing is going to push. When they make a pit stop and adjust it, he is really going to be quick.
His crew chief, Harold Holley, got his first ever win as a crew chief here in 1995. He was the assistant crew chief for Chad Little, but Gary Cogswell fell ill, and Holley stepped up on the box that day, in his first day as crew chief, got his first victory.
Not a bad way to start off as a crew chief.
Green, the defending series champ, second in points to the man who's leading this race, Kevin Harvick. And there you see Green's progression since the restart. Back up toward the front. Up on Kevin Grubb, 37. And let's again pick up this battle from second on back. This group keeping close check on one another. Steve Park just about 2 feet off the rear bumper of Ryan Newman. It's the same story there on back.
This whole group second through about 8th, and at the back of this pack, Greg Biffle in that 60 car, he's caught this group. Now he's probably one of the biggest movers besides Jeff Green. He started 14th. I talked to his crew chief. They went and tested up at Milwaukee. They tried to come here, use the same setup, and he said that's what we kind of missed out on qualifying, but they did have a good race car in happy hour, and they need a good run here. They have fallen from leading the points 2 weeks ago back to third with 2 bad races, and they felt good about what they had yesterday in happy hour.
Looks like he caught that group pretty easily. Looks like he's just biding his time. Robbie Faggart dropped a cylinder. They picked up a new sponsor for this race, Rent-A-Wreck, but he has now taken that car to the garage area. Jeff?
Yeah, Mike, to echo what Larry was saying earlier about the 60 car, they are actually running the Milwaukee setup. Milwaukee shocks are on the car. I talked to Randy, and Randy said he was very, very happy. That's Randy Goss, the crew chief on the thing. He was very happy with the way the car was in race trim. They didn't mess up qualifying, but they were very happy with where the balance of the car is. One other thing, talked to a lot of drivers, a lot of crew chiefs, and they said, hey, we ran 60-some laps the other day in practice, and the tires never dropped off. Well, we just reached 64 laps in this race, so it'll be interesting to see once we get over the 65, 66 laps, whether these tires start changing a little bit and how much they're going to play a role in the rest of this race.
Well, one driver that has eased off is our leader, Harvick. He's got 5.5 seconds on the field. His last lap was about 50 hundredths slower than the next 4 cars. So Harvick is kind of out for a Sunday drive, today being Saturday. We'll see how that pays off.
But there's a lot of cars out there that he's going to have to fight, and one thing that's bad for a leader is trying to get by lap traffic, and there's a bunch of cars in front of him.
And again, Larry, he's backed off his lap times by 1 or 2/10 of a second, trying to nurse that lead, trying to chase him down. Newman, Hart, Skinner, Keller, Santerre, Hamilton, and Biffle all in a tight pack. .70 of 200 laps complete the running order unchanged. And again, leader Kevin Harvick, whether he's in traffic or not, is lapping a little bit slower than the other leaders. He has a pretty good sized lead cushion on the rest of this field.
He's trying to work this lap traffic cautiously, trying to catch him at the right place at the right time. With this kind of lead, you can kind of pick and choose where you go by the lap traffic.
There's the interval back to second place. Ryan Newman, Steve Park, Mike Skinner, and the rest of that pack. And in the midst of it is the 0-1 of Andy Santerre. Dick?
Well, Andy Santerre has had a great day so far, Mike. He's currently running in 6th spot. He's a local hero from Cherryfield, Maine, but his day will be determined when he makes his pit stop. This is his 4th race of the year. Every single time he has run, it has been with a different pit crew. Because he's running part-time, he doesn't have a regular full-time pit crew, and the guys who are going to pit the car have never, ever pitted before together under green flag conditions.
Second, third, fourth place changed hands. Ryan Newman slipped up the racetrack, and it's bye-bye.
He gave the bottom of the racetrack up, and I believe he's going to go all the way from second, probably back to about 7th or 8th if he don't get back to the bottom of the racetrack. They're freight training right here. There you see Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the 26 going by him, Greg Biffle going by him, all the way to the back. Jeff Hammond, what's going on with Ryan Newman?
What's happened, Larry, is the car has picked up a push. The further he's gone, it's gotten tighter and tighter. Ryan had called in earlier and said, hey, next time we get a pit stop, we've got to make an adjustment of some bite and some air pressure. What happened? He pushed up. They got under him. Now they're driving away from him. But they feel like once they make these adjustments, they'll get him right back at the bottom and back up to the front.
And Mike Skinner, after he made the pass on Newman, slipped up the racetrack. And that allowed Jason Keller to get by.
And that's the problem with this racetrack. The more rubber that gets down on it, the hotter it gets. The sun's starting to pop back out just a little bit. It will get tighter and tighter. The front end will want to bite less and less, especially when you get down to 75, 85 laps on a set of tires.
Now, not just Keller, but also Andy Santerre and Bobby Hamilton Jr. fought their way past Skinner before Mike was able to get back in line. Changes from second on back, and let's set it for you now. About 6 seconds behind Harvick, the leader, are Park, Keller, then the 01 of Santerre and the 26 of Hamilton, then Skinner, Newman, and Biffle, who is 8th. Joe Bessie is 9th. Kenny Wallace is 10th. Kevin Harvick has led every one of 75 laps so far, but the contenders are closing in. Kevin Harvick continues to lead, and we begin to see pit stops. Randy LaJoie has come in at lap 79, and that's a little earlier than we were thinking.
There's no question, though, he will have to make another pit stop, and I guess if you're not close, there's no sense in pushing the envelope.
He was a top 20 car. Larry Foyt also making an appearance on pit road, and now Tim Sauter coming in for his first stop. Let's look at Sauter. His first trip to pit road. His brother Jay spent some time in the garage, but has gotten back out on the racetrack, though he is 52 laps down. 7th place race, Greg Biffle trying to work over Ryan Newman. Over, under, sideways down.
You know, if your car's pushing just a little bit here, and again, that's the characteristics of Loudon. Remember, when you're following a race car, it's going to even push worse because you lose the front downforce in the front of your race car, which even makes the car turn worse. All these pit stops we should be seeing, they should be 4-tire stops. What that would allow them possibly to do is in the latter part of the race maybe make a 2 right-side tire stop.
And that time Newman just pulled over and let Biffle go. Of course, that puts him into the clutches of Joe Bessie, another of the local northern New England drivers. Bessie from Maine, Scarborough, home of the Beach Ridge Speedway. Right behind him, 48, Kenny Wallace. And then 20, Mike McLaughlin.
Kenny Wallace, talked to him and his crew chief this morning, Jared Cannon. They was really pleased with their race car yesterday in happy hour, but talked about the #1 topic, getting that track position.
Bessie underneath Newman. Back from Kenny Wallace at Jeff Purvis, right behind that action. 10th and 11th.
Yeah, unless Ryan Newman and the 02 car, unless those guys feel like they can go to lap 100, they need to get to pit road here shortly. They need to fix that race car. It's not going to get any better. The push is just only going to get worse. He can't keep the car down on the bottom right here. See Joe Bessie in the 6th. Kenny Wallace, he's going to get under in here coming off turn 2. You can turn the wheel, turn the wheel, turn the wheel, but the only thing will help that race car turn is just slowing the exit speed of the car up.
Looking under Larry Foyt's lapped car. This is 8th place on back, the black car of Bessie in 8th. Tony Raines, the yellow car we talked to at the top of the show. He's had a good string of top 10s, but he currently sits 13th. Jimmy Johnson 14th, right behind him in the 92.
There he is in that pit car. He's getting about 1 every 3 or 4 laps. He's up to 15th now. And again, these guys, they were on pit road at lap 16, so I feel like they should be at least able to go to about lap 105, maybe even 110. These guys, they do not want to see a caution flag here.
Now Jason Keller has moved past Steve Park. And that's the first spot that Park has given up today, and that's Ted Marsh Chevrolet. So Keller, who is Jeff Green's teammate but employing a different strategy, is the new 2nd place car. But as we get ready for pit stops here in Loudon, a lot of activity along pit road. We'll be back to cover it in a moment. You're watching the CVS Pharmacy 200 presented by Bayer on FX.
Kevin Harvick, who has led every lap of this race so far, has chosen to pit at this point for floor tires and fuel. 1 can of fuel laying on the ground, 16.82.
The whole lead pack came in with him. Jason Keller, Steve Park, Andy Santerre, Bobby Hamilton Jr., Mike Skinner, and Elton Sawyer. Now Joe Bessie, Ryan Newman, McLaughlin, Johnson, and Grubb are in. Jeff?
And Ryan Newman brings his car in to be serviced. They go to the right side. Right sides are off. Make an adjustment in the left rear. You can see they're taking bite out of the car. Taking bite out of the car by the gas man right there. The car's been a little bit tight for Ryan all day long, but they felt like if we could get this adjustment, it'd be pretty good. They're down and away.
Lap 91, Greg Biffle comes in.
Greg had inherited the lead, so he gets his 5 points for leading the race.
As we cycle through green flag pit stops. There's the Randy Goss-led crew at work. Now they're allowed 2 sets of tires under caution for the entire race, so they'll put 4 on here.
Yeah, because again, these will not count against their allotment because it's under green, so they still have 2 sets of tires. No way they'd ever use those tires. Dick Berggren, how about Greg Biffle?
Oh, he's having a painfully slow pit stop right now, Larry Mack. Long time on that left rear corner of the car. It's going to put him way back. Steve Park also had a painfully low pit stop, and as a result, he is going to be running in the back too.
Lap 93, David Green comes in.
Kenny Wallace, who inherited lead, he's on pit road in the 48 car. Long pit road, 35 miles an hour. This comes on lap 93. Good indication none of these cars can make it without stopping again. 106 laps to go now. Should be a 4-tire stop.
It'll be interesting to see as we close in on the lap 100 mark who has not been on pit road, because a couple of crew chiefs indicated, as Jeff pointed out, they might try and stretch it. But we've had very few caution laps, only 2 cautions thus far.
But guess who's leading this race now at lap 94? Oh, number 10, Jeff Green. And we know by virtue of him being on pit road on lap 16, if he can go to about lap 110, he could do this race on 1 more stop. He needs this thing to go at least that far without a caution. He needs it to go the rest of the way without a caution with all these guys knowing they have got to make 1 more stop.
And now they're all on fresh tires. And Green's tires now have 80 laps on them.
They've got the entire race, because when he stopped on lap 16, all he did was get a little splash of fuel.
You're right, it was just gas, so they have 96 laps on them. Tony Raines and Joe Bessie battling past Kevin Grubb there. So Jeff Green is the leader. Tim Fedowa is second. Jeff Purvis third. Scott Wimmer fourth. Shane Hall now fifth. Chad Little is up there, along with Hank Parker Jr., California winner. Now those 7 cars have not pitted. Newman and McLaughlin. This would be 17.
Hank Parker Jr. seems like to me the California winner. That was on a fuel mileage.
Turn 2, 66 may be out of gas. Now Fedowa has not stopped, and he's slow down the back straightaway, shaking it back and forth.
He is out of gas. We are being told. Remember, this is Hank Parker Jr.'s teammate. See him slinging it back and forth. The fuel pickup that picks the fuel up in the fuel cell in that right rear corner. He's trying to get fuel back to it. He's going to make it to pit road, but a lot of time is going to be lost.
Crew waiting on Fedowa. Several crew chiefs told us this morning that NASCAR made a very careful inspection of fuel cell size here at Loudon because gas mileage is such an issue.
These fuel cells hold 22 gallons, but the way they mandate that is the measurement of the box, the fuel cell itself, and they have been tightening up those rules. Hank Parker Jr., Tim Fedowa's teammate, he hit pit road too. When your teammate runs out, you don't need to be too far behind him.
Lap 98. These green flag stops. Jeff?
You can see right now the 66 car Tim Fedowa is in. He is out of fuel right now. They're not making any cash adjustments. They just sprayed some ether in the car. The car expired and stalled again. Now they're going to try to push him off.
Now that leaves Chad Little on the racetrack. That's another Bill Bumgarner car. And the 2 Bill Davis cars. Or rather, Scott Wimmer is out there along with Jeff Purvis. Wimmer's a Davis car. Jeff Purvis is a Gibbs car. Excuse me. Shane Hall comes in now at lap 99. First time on pit road for Hall today.
Even though these guys may be running to the lap 100 mark, remember in that first 100 laps, we had 11 caution laps, and that can make a difference in your fuel mileage. You can't say now I can run the other 100 laps because that will be all green laps should we not have a caution.
So the cars that have not pitted are this one, Purvis, coming in now, and Scott Wimmer and Chad Little. Jeff?
4,200 RPM is what they're calling to him to bring it down pit road at 45 miles an hour. The crew goes to work on the right side. Don't see any chassis adjustments at this moment. Got a pretty good stop going here. Left side goes up. He was one of the last cars to come in here. He's on lap 101. They're down and away. Really good stop for the MB&A Pontiac.
Now, Mike, he ran the furthest of anyone that didn't top off earlier in the race. We knew Jeff Green, he topped off on lap 16, but now we're being told that Scott Wimmer and Chad Little topped off on lap 8. So Jeff Purvis, he's the fuel mileage king right now. The question would be, can he run 99 laps of green flag racing?
Well, we may see if we stay green. So Jeff Green, Greg Biffle, and Kenny Wallace each led a lap as we cycle through green flag pit stops. Green is the current leader. 102 laps complete.
NASCAR on FX is brought to you by Smooth Busch Beer and easy drinking Busch Light. Busch, the proud sponsor of the NASCAR Busch Series.
Welcome back to Loudon, New Hampshire. That's not one of the flags the drivers will see. That's an infield camper, I hope. Jeff Green is our leader. He made a pit stop at lap 16. So that was 92 laps ago. So we expect him shortly on pit road. He has a lead of 20 seconds on Chad Little, who also made a stop at the same time to top off fuel. And here is Green, who will surrender the lead on this green flag pit stop.
All they need is a good solid pit stop, 4 tires, need to make sure they get that thing full of fuel, no mistakes. Dick Bergman, you're down there waiting on him. 4 tires, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's going to be 4 tires, Larry. The other thing they're going to do is they're going to take a round out of the left rear. This car has had a little bit of a push coming off the corner. It's a common symptom that we have seen all day long today. Harold Holly has told these guys, just get it right. A lot of fuel spilling out. They did not get the nozzle in well. But so far, now they got it back in again. 1 can of gas is in around to the left side. Dan Dittburner on the jack, working the left side of this race car now. Holly, the crew chief, a gutsy call. And there he goes. Nice stop.
The second place car of Chad Little also making his stop for 4 tires and fuel.
Well, it's pretty much a given. Jeff Green and Chad Little, we know, can make it the distance from here should we stay green. You know, we talk about wedge out of the left rear. We talked about it on Jeff Green's car. We talked about it on Ryan Newman. We're going to try to show you what wedge out of the left rear really is in a visual. Car comes on the pit road. This is the left rear corner right here. What they do, they back that out counterclockwise. Actually, we're going to show you on the right rear here. We're going to show you taking wedge out. Screw down on the right rear. What that does, that takes weight off the right rear and the left front. It puts weight on the other ones, and that's actually taking wedge out. You're changing the wheel weight to the corner.
So Chad Little comes back on track after being in second place. He's now in 24th position. Jeff?
That's right, Mike. They made a gutsy call and took it as far as they could. Crew chief Eddie Perdue made a track bar adjustment. They put 4 tires on Chad Little, got him full of fuel. They believe they can go the distance, and they did it in 15.2 seconds.
Pretty slick stop. Kevin Harvick, after this cycle of pit stops is completed, has gone back to the lead. But Jason Keller is less than 3 seconds from Harvick. Bobby Hamilton Jr. in third, Mike Skinner and Andy Santerre are the top 5 here at New Hampshire International Speedway. You're watching the NASCAR Busch Series on FX. Next weekend, NASCAR's All-Star Weekend at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Winston Cup practice on Fox Sports Net next Friday. Then qualifying and practice on FX beginning at 7 p.m. Next Saturday, the ARCA race, 5:30 on FX, followed by the Winston Open and the Winston All on FX. And next Sunday, we're at Nazareth with the NASCAR Busch Series. Tough break for David Donahue, whose car slowed up way in the high side of turn 2, coasted around the wall, and then found its way down to pit road. If you can have a look at the right rear of that car while they work under the hood, you can see what they painted on it for this week. A bullseye. Said they've been hit so many times. After last week's telecast, they thought they'd put one on there. Nobody's touched it.
Maybe it was a good thing they put it on there, but unfortunately now they've got other problems.
David Donahue lost a cylinder, we're told. And Donahue is going to be done for the day. They're going to push the number 25 Ed Renzi Team Marines car behind the wall.
Look at Greg Biffle right there in the 60, Jeff Green in the 10. This is a battle for 12th, but Mike, Jeff Green is on his own agenda right now. He don't need to race anyone. He just needs to make laps, be careful racing people. He knows he can go the distance without stopping. Greg Biffle and everybody else in front of him, they have got to stop one more time.
Well, there are several cars, Larry, that are in the make it or break it category. Scott Wimmer, Shane Hall, Hank Parker Jr. again. Chad Little doesn't have to stop. I think I mentioned Wimmer and Green. Those cars probably might not have to stop.
Yeah, the thing, though, with Chad Little and Scott Wimmer, they are a lap down. Now, they certainly would improve their position a bunch. I don't know that they could win the race, though, by not stopping, because we know Jeff Green in the 10, he has not to come to pit road again.
Chad Little, Hank Parker Jr., and Steve Park going at it. Now, Park is the 6th place car. He makes it past that group.
Randy LaJoy in that 7 car, he's up to the 7th position. Remember, he was one of the first cars that came to pit road back on lap 80. What he did, he got advantage of those fresher tires and was able to improve his position a bunch. But we know he's going to have to be on pit road probably with about 80, lap 180, 185 possibly.
Yeah, he'll be back in. 12th place battle here. Well, it was. Jeff Green going by Greg Biffle for 12th. Elton Sawyer looking in. The 14th place car. .122 laps complete. Harvick has led 103 of them. I think that 104 now. Jeff Green led 17 laps. Biffle and Kenny Wallace each led 1.
Something we never mentioned, Mike, is Jay Sauter. He's back in the race in the 43 car after being involved in that first accident back on lap 3. Now he's 52 laps down, but just out there trying to accumulate points and make laps.
Yeah, he's gained 4 positions since working in that car and putting it back on the racetrack. There it is. Not pretty, but it's getting the job done.
It's out there rolling and running.
That's right. Jeff Purvis and David Green. And in the 34 pit is Jeff Hammond.
That's right, Mike. We keep talking about pit stops and how important they are to the teams. C.C. Welliver decided that they need to bring somebody in to help make their team better. Well, they went out and they got former Mr. America and Mr. World, David Hawk, to come in and study pit stops for all 3 of their teams. David also works very closely with the folks at GNC, which sponsor Hank Parker Jr.'s car. He is here to try to understand pit stops. He'll come back to Charlotte, North Carolina, and develop a program to make their teams bigger, faster, and stronger.
Well, that's the thing. The pit crews, they keep going deeper and deeper into this. No longer are you just a tire changer that shows up on race day. You work out, you practice. It's become pretty involved.
Now that not for position, Jeff Green going past the 66 of Tim Fedowa, who has gone a lap down.
And the reason he went a lap down was he ran out of fuel a while ago and was on pit road a long time, spent a long time just getting to pit road.
So Kevin Harvick, his lead now cut down to just 2 seconds. Jason Keller trying to close in. We'll be right back to New Hampshire after this. Welcome back to Loudon. 131 laps complete. Harvick still leads, but his lead is now cut to 1.9 seconds over Jason Keller. Time for today's Pep Boys trivia. What driver has led the most Busch Series laps at Loudon? For the first time this year, I think the answer is not going to be Mark Martin.
Well, Kevin Harvick is working hard here to become the answer to this question. I don't think he's won a race here, but I think it may have been Jeff Green.
Let's see. Jeff Green.
How about that?
Added 17 more today to his total as he goes by Jimmy Johnson in the 92 to take over 11th place.
car is really working good. He gets in the middle of the corner, turns that thing, mashes that throttle, up off that corner he comes. And the difference shows up down the straightaway. It looks like he's got a lot better motor than these guys, but the reason is he's backing the throttle so early and able to stay in the throttle off the corner, just like this man right here, Kevin Harvick, in that 2 car.
Harvick pulling down on Joe Bessie, the 20th place car, and the last car on the lead lap. 67 laps to go. Fuel mileage, definitely a question. Now, second place kind of tightens up as well. Jason Keller and Bobby Hamilton Jr. And right now, they're holding constant about 1.9 seconds off the lead.
They've been working a lot of lap traffic. Here they go underneath Jay Sauter in that 43 car. Almost like the real difference at Loudon is who can catch lap traffic in the right place and who can make the right calls from pit road.
Seems they're like the right place to catch him is about a third of the way down the straightaway.
It's a lot better to catch them on the straightaway than down in the middle of the corner, unless they move up for you while you're in the corner.
So 19 cars now on the lead lap. David Green is the last of those. And most of these teams will need one more pit stop. Green is now pulled up on Mike McLaughlin. This is a race now for 10th. Larry, if we get a caution and you make that stop, 2 tires, or do you take the time to get 4?
Oh, I believe I'm going to go for 2 tires. I want track position. We've seen all day long how hard it is to pass. We saw that battle from 2nd to 8th a while ago, how much it took them to pass cars, and I just don't know track position. Give me track position.
Well, let's find out downstairs. Dick Berggren?
Well, Todd Barrier is Kevin Harvick's crew chief. He's about wearing the pavement out here, pacing back and forth. How long can you go before you have to fuel that thing up?
I tell you, pacing out the Monte Carlo's been good. We knew we couldn't make this thing on one stop. Even that first stop, like the team did, we're still like 15 laps short from making it on one stop. So we need to caution here sometime between now and then.
You're going to go 2 tires or 4?
Just according to when it is.
Okay. Hey, Jeff.
Down here with Steve Addington, crew chief for the 57 car, Jason Keller. Car looks good, man. I know you can't go all the way, so what's your strategy going to be?
I think we can go to 190, but we might go a little bit further than that.
I tell you right now, by the look on your face and that grin, it sounds to me like you might be holding some cards here, buddy.
He said it's a little free right now, but we're running the leader down. I'm going to leave it alone.
There you have it, Mike.
Jeff Hammond, now, if I'm one of these crew chiefs and I don't have to pit until 15 laps to go, say lap 185, I believe I'm going to do me a splash of gas because all these guys need is about 2 or 3 seconds of fuel. Again, give me that track position, especially at the end of the race.
I agree completely right there, Larry. You've got to get in and get back out there to hold that bottom line, protect it, to stay in front of a lot of these guys, and the best way to do that is get on and off pit road, or don't come to pit road like Steve Addington had that grin on his face a minute ago, like that's what they're thinking about not doing.
Trouble for Tim Fedowa, and you see the right side of that car is all used up.
Yeah,
I did not see him get the wall.
He's been against the wall, probably up off either turn 2 or up off turn 4.
Kevin Harvick's lead is now cut to less than 1 second. Jason Keller closing in with 60 laps to go at Loudon. .56 laps to go at New Hampshire International Speedway in the CVS Pharmacy 200 presented by Bayer on FX. And they're 2nd, 3rd, and 4th closing it in on race leader Kevin Harvick.
Guys here, they've been coming little by little. See, they're in at the line. Jason Keller just a little over a half a second back. Mike Skinner in the 4th place, about a 2.25 seconds back.
Yeah, Andy Santerre in a time zone of his own in 5th place. Then Steve Park and Randy LaJoie. One more pit stop will be needed by most of these teams. Tim Fedowa has been in and out of the pits trying to make repairs, but off the pace and out of contention. And Jeff Green's forward progress has been stopped at Mike McLaughlin, the 10th place car. Jeff Hammond?
That's right, guys. A few moments ago, I was standing down here in the pit road, and I seen Harold Hawley come running by me in a dead run. I was trying to see where he was going. He ran all the way back up to the 92 car pit, about 7 pits away, crawled up there and told Tony Liberati, hey, get him out of the way, you're holding us up. And he was referring to Jimmy Johnson, you talked about earlier. You can't pass here, and they could tell clearly that he was much faster than Jimmy Johnson, and he wanted to get some clear lane to get by him, or else. And he was making that perfectly clear. One other thing, guys, it's getting a whole lot cooler down here on pit road, so the racetrack's going to start changing one more time. So guys that are tighter may be getting tighter yet.
Yeah, Jeff, it's definitely cooling down. We noted when we started the racetrack, temperature was 113 degrees. It's down to 104 degrees, almost a 10-degree swing. That can definitely tighten your race car up and make it turn worse.
It's been quite a mix of sun and clouds, and now from partly it's gone to mostly cloudy. There's no sunlight on the racetrack, no direct sunlight on the racetrack right now. Jeff Purvis is the 18th place car, and Kevin Harvick's trying to put him a lap down.
Jeff Purvis is another car that was in question because remember he was on pit road at lap 100, so we're not sure if he can go the distance because that was 100 laps with 11 caution laps. Makes a big difference. Meanwhile, while Kevin Harvick's fighting with Jeff Purvis, you see Jason Keller, Bobby Hamilton Jr., Mike Skinner right there in his rearview mirror.
And it's getting closer. You measure that in car lengths now. You don't need a stopwatch.
We can do it with a visual. You can see it all in one screen.
Harvick looks in his mirror, knows he's got to go. He's trying to make the move on Purvis to the inside and sails it off into turn 3. Under Purvis, who leaves the door open for Keller.
Once you get kicked up to the high side, it's like a freight train. All 4 of these cars now are going to go by Jeff Purvis, putting him a lap down. We now have 17 cars on the lead lap with 50 laps to go.
And that's a courtesy move by Purvis that he didn't just try to drop right in behind Harvick and hold up those other cars that are racing for the lead.
Cars starting to move up just a little bit up the racetrack, just a little bit. Bobby Hamilton Jr. moved up. Mike Skinner in that 21 car, he's going to take the 3rd place position down the front stretch here. You move up a little bit. You just give them a little bit of the bottom of the racetrack, they are going to get under you.
Jeff Green made that move on Mike McLaughlin, but he made it coming up out of the corner on McLaughlin instead of going into the corner. That is a position. That's 10th place changing hands there. Laps to go. Kevin Harvick just about 6 car lengths up on Jason Keller here at Loudon, New Hampshire on FX. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Loudon. 44 laps to go. Shane Hall has just made a pit stop. He was one of the last cars to make his first stop, and he is the first car to make his second pit stop of the day. So of the cars that made late race pit stops, only Jeff Green is left on the lead lap. Now, if we stay green and some of these leaders like Kevin Harvick have to stop, it'll put some of those cars back into play in this race. But if we get a caution, their chance to win is gone.
In particular, Scott Wimmer, Jeff Purvis, and Chad Little.
Correct.
We know Chad Little can make it. But, Joe, as I watch Kevin Harvick, we keep referring to Jeff Green up there in that 10 car. He's only 4 3/4 seconds from being lapped by Kevin Harvick, but still Kevin Harvick has got to come down that long pit road. See this pit road, long pit road, 35 miles an hour. Even if he stops for about 3 seconds for fuel, Jeff Green's still gonna have the lead.
Trouble for Andy Santerre. Had problems coming down the back straightaway and slowed. Looks like he's going to stay on the racetrack, but Santerre may have dropped a cylinder.
He was having a good run, but we had watched him. He'd started backing up and getting passed by a lot of cars.
He'd been the 5th place car, and then Randy LaJoie got by him, so he was 7th when the car slowed. Now look at Jason Keller is there. He has caught Kevin Harvick in traffic.
Mike Skinner in that 21. These 3 cars, they've been coming slowly but surely. They just went by Kevin Grubb in the 37. That puts 15 cars on the lead lap.
Santerre's now in real trouble in the back straightaway. He may not be able to make it all the way around. There's Andy. He can coast to the infield road course from here and out of harm's way, and that's what he does.
Yeah, there's a runoff area over there that's part of the road course when they do some road racing here, and he's made it to that part, so he's off the racetrack.
if you're Jason Keller, the Greenville, South Carolina driver, who right now is fourth in the point standings. You've caught the man who's led most all day today. But now what do you do? Keller made his pit stop about lap 89.
Yeah, him and Kevin Harvick, they were actually on pit road about the same lap. So it's not how far they can go. I think it's who between these cars that can get on pit road and what they do. But I still say, if I'm Kevin Harvick's crew chief or Jason Keller's crew chief, just a couple of seconds of fuel. That's all they need.
Marty Houston's being pushed to the garage area. And part of Andy Santerre's problem was that he was out of brakes. Lost his brakes on the E.J. Prescott 01. Kevin Harvick's led most of the way there. His wife Delana looks on, but there's still 38 laps to race here in Loudon. Welcome back to Loudon. The caution flag has just waved and will change everything. It's out at lap 172. Ryan Newman cut down a right front tire a lap ago going into turn 1 and eventually ended up down on the rim. Cars had to scatter in both directions to get around him, and caution is out. Now at that time, only 9 cars were left on the lead lap. Greg Biffle was battling to get a lap back from the leader at the line, and I don't believe he was able to do so. There's the Penske Ford. Newman making the pit road on three tires here.
Boy, a caution that everyone wanted to see. Kevin Harvick, Jason Keller, all these guys need to get to pit road, but Jeff Green did not want to see this caution. I'm going to say Jeff Green possibly may stay out and get that track position. He may possibly stay out.
Harvick is in, Keller is in, Skinner, Hamilton on pit road. So is Steve Park, Kenny Wallace, and Jeff Green
did come to pit
is in.
road. All the leaders are in.
Needed the track position, Larry, but needed those fresh tires more.
That would be the only thing giving it up. Jeff Hammond, how about Jason Keller?
4 tires on the 57 car. He came down pit road. He didn't want any kind of changes done to his car right now. They're putting on 4 tires on the 21. Dick Berggren.
Harvick is taking outside tires right now. Jeff Green has pitted. His crew has just pulled off the extra piece of windshield on that car, and it is going to be a 2-tire change for Green as well. He will re-emerge right behind the 21 car.
Another long stop for Steve Park. You see his white car just now pulling out of its... No, that isn't even him. That's Elton Sawyer. Steve Park is still in there. That's a 2-day pit stop.
Well, and remember, these guys, they only run a handful of races. They're not used to making pit stops every week, and that makes it tough when you're not there every week. It looks like to me everybody took 4 tires with the exception of Jeff Green, and I think he should come back out on the racetrack in 4th position.
And Kevin Harvick. Harvick just got right side tires. Let's show you what happened to Ryan Newman as the lap down cars come into pit.
Going down the backstretch, off into turn 3. There you see the right front tire going down. Look at the car stacking up behind him. Jimmy Johnson, Greg Biffle. There was the leader. All the leaders right there. That was a close call for everybody, but the caution did come out.
Larry, it was most costly to Biffle. He was ahead of Harvick before they got to Newman. And Newman had slowed up in turn 1, but then took off. And here, look at Biffle's car. There's Johnson and Biffle, and Harvick is going to go right underneath the 2 of them, and they both fall off the lead lap.
Not the break they needed.
Absolutely not. 26 laps to go, working the 3rd caution of the day. We'll be right back. Checking for a bit of debris down the front straightaway here. We're under caution, and next week NASCAR's All-Star Tilt the Winston begins Friday with practice on Fox Sports Net and then qualifying and practice on FX. Next Saturday, we're all FX. The ARCA race at 5:30, the Winston Open, and Stock Car Racing's All-Star Night, the Winston. A week from Sunday, we're at Nazareth with the NASCAR Busch Series here on FX. They're cleaning up from this caution flag for Ryan Newman, and we'll be back to restart here at Loudon in a moment. .22 laps to go. They've held this caution for an additional lap to place Greg Biffle in the lineup. Biffle thought he had beaten Harvick back to the line to get his lap back, and that was not the case. Here's what happened to Mike Skinner on his pit stop.
Guys had a good pit stop, but again, you see Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the 26 car had him blocked in. They had to back it up, and just to show you how good of a good pit stop he had, Jeff Hammond, he still came out in 3rd position.
it was unbelievable because actually the 21 car got done before the 57 car, but because of getting blocked in, instead of being second in line, they're third in line. Gil Martin called his guys and said, hey, you did all you could do. You can't do any more. And the same for Steve Addington. He told his guys, one heck of a job, guys. All weekend, you've been great. You've been working really hard. Let's just give it all we got here at the end. So both these teams are very excited and in position right now to make a run for the win.
And the cars that got 2 tires only, Harvick, the leader, and Jeff Green, will line up 4th. Now, Andy Santerre made an unscheduled pit stop, and he'd been running in the top 5 and has now fallen back, but is still on the racetrack, though 8 laps down. Dick?
He ran out of brakes, Mike. That's why he slowed down so precipitously and pulled it into the garage and went into the garage so slowly. They have repaired the car. They got brakes back on it again, but a disappointing end. He had a good shot to have a great finish this afternoon.
Thanks, Dick. Getting set for the restart. Now, Randy LaJoie is at the tail end of the lead lap, but he lines up on the inside, as is his option, I believe.
It's his option. I'm really surprised. I would have stayed in front of Kevin Harvick in that 2 car. As long as you're only at the tail end of the lead lap, you can start in front of the leader. So I'm a little surprised that Randy didn't try to stay up there. He did not pit. Remember, he pitted under green just a few laps ago, took 2 tires, so he elected to stay out. We're going to have us a 20-lap shootout here. 2 tires, some with 4 tires. Randy LaJoie with staying out that time.
So race strategy of no consequence. The strategy is bury that foot in the floorboard and let's go. Harvick brings him down to the green flag. 20 laps to go at Loudon.
I think Kevin Harvick wants to do is right there, clear that lap traffic, get to the bottom of the racetrack while Jason Keller in the 57's trapped on the outside of Greg Biffle in the 60.
And trouble on Jeff Green. Jeff Green, that yellow car on the right side of your screen, did not get up to speed, and a car goes spinning behind him. It is Mike McLaughlin. Caution's back out.
Mike McLaughlin was in the 8th position. Now here you see a bunch of cars trying to get their lap back. Randy LaJoie, Greg Biffle, they're going to try to get that lap back.
And LaJoie is the only one that's going to make it.
LaJoie gets it back. Greg Biffle does not get it back.
And that was likely a courtesy extended by Kevin Harvick, because as we discussed, LaJoie could have taken that last restart in front of Harvick and chose not to. Now here everybody's stacking up for Jeff Green, who did not get through turns 1 and 2. Steve Park and his old modified buddy McLaughlin get together.
Not a lot of damage to that car. They should be okay. You know, they were on the lead lap. They was in the 8th position. They came in here 5th in points, so hopefully this won't hurt him too bad. A little bit of damage to the rear of that car. They'll need to get in and do a little bit of work on it.
Yeah, he spoiled his spoiler a bit on the back of that car.
These guys, what a season they've had. 1 Talladega and still running around with blank quarter panels.
Let's ride with Mike McLaughlin. Everybody kind of backing up there.
You can hear him feathering the throttle because he couldn't go nowhere, and Steve Park jumps on the throttle and just gets into the back of him.
Larry, it's over in an instant. It just feels like it takes forever.
I've talked to Darrell about that. He said it seems like eternity.
Yep.
There you see Randy LaJoie right behind Mike McLaughlin. Free lunch. Come to pit road. You're back on the lead lap. Get you 4 fresh tires, and maybe you can go up there and battle these guys.
Yeah, sure. Get set for the bonus round. That hammer's not near big enough.
He's okay. The 4 wheels is in the right location. Jeff Hammond, not a lot of damage there. Nothing that'll hurt him.
Push the deck lid down in the back and make the left front fender out. It seems to be the most concern of anything, to make sure they got clearance and won't be rubbing. But otherwise, it looks pretty good. No tires, no chassis adjustments, just straighten the sheet metal out. Away he goes.
Well, there are a lot of great Saturday night racetracks in this area. Star Speedway runs NASCAR Pro Stocks just down the road in Epping, New Hampshire. Bear Ridge runs the Coops on the dirt up in Bradford, Vermont. And we're going to have a Saturday night style shootout right here. Dick Berggren.
Well, Jeff Green had a horn of sorts on the front of his car when he was trying to get by some of these people. There's some red paint, a little bit of yellow paint off the right front tire. There is no real horn, so what you have to do in a racetrack like this where it's tough to pass, just give him a little nudge. Green was doing just that.
Well, that's the problem on restarts. You know, Jeff Green's going to restart the race in 4th. but it's like 8th because you've got that full line of lap cars on the inside until you get to the 10-lap rule, which is where it'd be single file. Here with 16 laps to go when they get to green, you have to fight all those lap cars.
The least caution flags ever in a Busch race at Loudon, 4. We've now equaled that.
When they normally come in ones, they come in doubles and triples.
Right. All right, let's try it again. This time we'll shoot it out for 16 laps if it goes green. Kevin Harvick, Jason Keller, Mike Skinner, Jeff Green, Kenny Wallace are the first 5. 10 cars on the lead lap.
Greg Biffle in that 60. He'd like to get his lap back now. He's at the front of the inside line. Green flag.
And that's one car Harvick doesn't want back on the lead lap because he's one of those battling for the points championship. But Biffle makes good on it down into turn 1.
But he overdrove turn 1, slid up the racetrack. Harvick's going to go back to the bottom here. Jason Keller right on the rear bump of Harvick. Harvick can't mess around long with Biffle.
Harvick lost his momentum getting up off turn 2. Here comes Keller to the inside for the lead. Keller gets it.
Broke that momentum just enough. Harvick wants it back, though, way to the bottom of the racetrack. Turn 4 here. Keller gets a little bit loose.
But Keller has a good pull off turn 4.
He was able to stay in the throttle, even though he got a little bit loose over there in the middle of 3 and 4. He was able to stay in the throttle. And remember, he has 4 fresh tires versus Harvick's 2.
Jason Keller becomes the 5th different leader today. And Biffle being inside of Harvick, that opened the door for Jason Keller. These are the first laps that Jason Keller has ever led in 10 starts here in Loudon.
He needs to be smooth here just for 14 laps. He's got those 4 fresh tires. He don't need to get up there and mess with Greg Biffle. Let Greg Biffle have his lap back.
Now it's Mike Skinner who moves up on his teammate, Harvick.
Again, Mike Skinner has 4 fresh tires versus his teammate Kevin Harvick having 2. Those 2 tires, I thought it would have been a great call, but right now it's not looking like it's working out very good.
Jeff?
Mike, one other thing I'd like to point out, go back to the pit stop. Mike Skinner and his guys got to be sitting there saying, oh, me, if I hadn't got boxed in, we'd have been in a position to take advantage of that situation, and we'd be leading this race right now.
Well, now you kind of have to wonder about team orders. Harvick is running for the Busch Series Championship. Skinner is not. If he passes Harvick, obviously Skinner's a money racer, but that's 5 points in the negative column to Harvick if Skinner goes by.
But I also know Mike Skinner. He's going to finish just as high as he wants to finish here.
Just thought I'd raise the point.
Good point, though.
Now Kenny Wallace battling Steve Park. Jeff Green is ahead of them.
Steve Park has worked his way back up through the field. Remember, had that really bad pit stop, lost positions to everybody on the lead lap, but he's worked his way back into 6th.
Jason Keller has cleared Greg Biffle, giving him a cushion back to the 2nd place car.
He's got over a 2nd lead. 10 laps to go, 11 laps to go this time by.
Oh, yeah, it's checkout time at Albertsons for Jason Keller. Dick Berggren?
Well, Jeff Green has got his marching orders. He has finished 2nd in the last 2 races they've here at New Hampshire, and his crew has just told him, wear that thing out. Wear it out. He's on it hard, Mike.
Got a lap car just in front of him, Jimmy Johnson, who is 13th, 1 lap down. And time running out. It'll be 10 laps to go this time for Jason Keller. And there's the gap to 2nd place Kevin Harvick and Mike Skinner. Well, we've had 10 different winners this season. Might be number 11 today.
And this race has had 14 different winners in 14 races. Jason Keller not being one of those winners. This car looks so good. He's not running right out of the bottom. He's floating down in the corner, letting it go up just a little bit in the middle, but he's able to stay in that throttle off the corner. Really helps his front straightaway.
And Larry, this seems to be one of these racetracks where if you don't charge it hard in turn 1, you can get a much earlier pull off turn 2.
There's a lot of racetracks we go to, Mike. This is one of them. If you overdrive the entrance of the corner, it messes the whole rest of the corner up, plus the next straightaway because you can't get back to the throttle. Almost to a 2nd half lead. 8 laps to go for Jason Keller.
There's the interval. Harvick and Skinner 2nd and 3rd. Ways back to Jeff Green.
Tony Raines in the 33 car there. He's a lap down. He's in the 12th position.
Only 10 cars left on the lead lap. McLaughlin, the last of those. Last victory for Jason Keller was at Dover last June. He finished runner-up at Nashville, his best finish this season. As Kenny Wallace and Steve Park continue to go at it, this is for 5th place.
This is a battle for 5th place. Kenny Wallace, Steve Park, Bobby Hamilton Jr. just right behind these guys as well in that 26 car.
Well, think where Park beat right now if their pit stops had been up to the par of the other leaders.
Because he passed a lot of cars right after that restart. He went from about 9th or 10th all the way up to 6th. Look at the front of Steve Park's car there getting in the corner. If we notice, we didn't see that valence get all the way down on the ground. Remember, we talked about it in the beginning, the spring rule change. They have to run stiffer springs in these cars now because of the maximum height. They can't get them on the ground and not travel as much.
A new rule for the Busch and the Craftsman Truck Series. And it seems to have worked out pretty well, Larry. We didn't see a whole lot of cars that missed the setup very badly here. There weren't a lot of cars got a lap down early, in other words.
The softer you get those front springs, the easier it is to miss the setup. You get to chasing soft springs, trying to get the car down on the ground, and there's a finer line, I think, between a good handling car and a bad handling car.
There's a look at Jason Keller's lead that he's continued to extend, but the second place battle remains a hot one. Again, these are two teammates. Harvick, who is racing for the championship, Mike Skinner, who is not. They're still fighting second and third with 4 laps to go.
Of course, Greg Biffle in the 60 car there, he's a lap down still, but he's in 11th position. I believe the whole key, Mike, was when Kevin Harvick lost that momentum off turn 2. Jason Keller, his car has gotten better and better as this race has went on, and that seems to be the difference right here with 3 laps to go.
And 4 tires seem to be the right call. The cars that took 2, Harvick is now second, and Jeff Green continues in 4th, kind of by himself on the racetrack.
Right now there'll be 2 laps to go next time Jason Keller comes by the flag stand, and he looks like he's got pretty open racetrack. He should be clean these last 2 laps. Up to over a 2-second lead over second place Kevin Harvick.
Park and Wallace, or Wallace and Park, still nose to tail. They're second and third. Right there behind Biffle. And here's your leader, Keller. In the back straightaway. White flag this time around.
Slow down in the corner. Don't pitch it off there on the bottom.
See him really diamond the corner, kind of short track style. Let it sweep up in the middle, cut it back down on full power, and there's just 1 lap left for Jason Keller.
We've seen that a lot with this harder tire. The tires don't grip as good, and sometimes these guys have to diamond the racetrack to make the car turn.
Wallace and Park still nose to tail for 5th, and off turn 4, Jason Keller will be the 15th different Busch Series winner at New Hampshire International Speedway, the 11th different winner this season. It's his 5th Busch Series victory.
Harvick comes home second, Mike Skinner, Jeff Green ends up 4th, and Kenny Wallace ends up 5th. There's one happy group right there.
So Jason Keller keeps the string of different winners intact at Loudon, New Hampshire, and we'll be back to talk to him after this. Kevin Harvick wore out the field for 165 laps, but it's Jason Keller, the season's 11th different winner, who's sitting in victory lane. Dick Berggren's with him.
We are, and Jason Keller just getting ready. Come on out of here. Here's your champion from New Hampshire Speedway. Jason Keller, big, well, on the roof of the car, dives into his pit crew. They're hugging him, he's hugging them. This guy has finished 12th, 6th, third and now first in his last several races at New Hampshire. Jason, tell us about the pass for the win at the tail end.
Let me catch my breath first. It's a great day for us. Steve Addington won the race.
Steve Addington is the crew chief.
He called for 4 tires there at the end. He just did all.
You're winded, aren't you?
Yeah. You know, I wish my mom, happy Mother's Day, my wife, everybody back home, and Albertsons, Ford, everybody involved. But, man, I wanted to win this one so bad for Adam. We lost a good friend last year. This is for him.
Everybody's thinking of Adam Petty here this afternoon, Mike.
No doubt about it, Dick. A tearful, emotional, yet joyful victory lane for Jason Keller. Well deserved.
Yeah, you win the race, but all of our hearts are still with, Adam Petty. Certainly one of the future stars of this sport.
Mike Skinner had a fine run to end up third behind his teammate, Kevin Harvick. Here's Jeff.
Mike Skinner, an outstanding run here for your car today. You said you had a good car.
Yeah, we had an awesome car. I just want to say how good this Rockwell team is. These guys really worked hard. Gil made the right adjustments, and I want to say hi to my 2 sons, Jamie and Dustin, and hi to Ford, too. And they didn't get to come up here, but we had a lot of fun today. I think we had a little bit better car than what we finished, but flat spotted the front tires maybe a little bit there when they all checked up there, and I didn't want to spin Jason out. I wanted to beat him fair and square, and I knew Kevin was racing for points, and I didn't want to spin him out. I had to remember his RCR car.
How about that last pit stop, Mike? It looked like you guys had him beat off pit road, but you had to back up.
We had them all beat, but we kept getting pinned in. They always ask me, what would you do to these racetracks to make them better? And my 100% of the time is these darn pits ain't big enough. And, I don't know that they tried to block us in or not. It's one of them situations that maybe I'm not good enough getting in pit road. I don't know. But it was a rough time right there, and we lost a little pit position, track position, but the Rockwell car ran awfully well, and I want to thank everybody that's involved with this car. Command was on the back this week, and Rockwell Automation, Chevrolet, Richard Childress. I want to thank Lowe's Home Improvement Warehouse for letting me drive this car. It gives us a better chance to run good with the 31 when we come up here.
Thank you, Mike. He was good enough for third place today, Mike.
Was a good run for Mike Skinner. Now, post-race, some harsh words between Kevin Harvick and Greg Biffle about the run off that last restart, while the Busch Series officials attempt to referee. That has earned both of those drivers a seat in the big blue truck,
which is the NASCAR truck.
Right.
And you remember, these guys actually got together last week at Richmond as well.
Well, when you're fighting for a championship. Okay, time for Victory Donuts. Here goes Jason Keller.
Maybe not donuts.
Well, here he comes. Now he's going to blow a couple of donuts. No.
Still no donuts.
Kind of look like victory crullers, Larry.
Yeah, I couldn't classify that as donuts.
Well, in any case, a very happy young man stands at victory lane. Let's meet the 4th place finisher today, Jeff.
Yeah, we caught up here with Jeff Green. You guys had a great strategy early on, Jeff, and it looked like you guys had it where you wanted it, but right there at the end it kind of slipped away.
Well, we talked about it. This thing come down to fuel mileage a time or two, and our car was good, but it wasn't very good on the short runs like there at the end, Jeff. But Harold made a great call on doing that strategy, taking gas early, and we was going to make it, but the 02 car had a flat tire or something, called a caution. But glad for my teammate, Jason Keller. They work as hard as we do, and congratulations to those guys. But we wanted to win, too. Still another top 5. We lost a few points, but we want to win like everybody, so congratulations to Jason.
Just since you brought that up, your teammates, you weren't running one type of strategy. He wasn't running another, was it?
I don't know. We really never talked to them about the strategy. We just want to do our own deal. We're 2 teams, but when the race starts, we're a team by ourselves. And just proud of Nesquik and Tow House and everybody helps us. And we want to get here in Victory Lane, get in Victory Lane more, but if we can't get in Victory Lane, the top 5 is the next best thing.
Well, let's talk about next week when you head up to Nazareth. You got anything for them up there?
Well, we think we do. We've been up there the last 2 years, kind of like this place, and kind of dominated the races, but everybody's kind of caught up with us this year. The Harvick and And Mike Skinner's been doing a great job in that car, and of course Jason and Greg Biffle. So we'll just have to go up there and do our best. We got a great car going there, same one we run there last year. Sat on a pole there last two years in a row. So hopefully we can go back up there and get our next victory.
Thanks a lot. Great run. Dick Berggren?
Well, Kevin Harvick led most of this afternoon, but he didn't wind up in victory lane. What happened at the end?
Well, I mean, we had a good car, and then we decided to put 2 tires on there, and we knew we were going to have to hold them off for a couple laps. The only thing we didn't count on was having to deal with Biffle down there racing like his last lap on a lead lap. You know, he was kind of ticked off that I didn't give him his lap back, but he was kind of a duck in the water. So, yeah, he didn't really mean much today, and we'll remember that when he's leading. So, great day for the AC Delco guys, and congratulations to Jason Keller. Just one of them deals, and we'll put it in the back of our mind.
What was the conversation between you and Biffle?
I just told him to get his head out of his butt.
He did ask if he could get by toward the tail end there and get his lap back, and you didn't want to do that. Why?
Well, I mean, it's not that I didn't want to let him have his lap back. It was just one of those deals where Keller was in second, and we're coming to the caution, and you never know how long or how bad the caution is. And I let Randy go by, and he just didn't get there in time, so I can't babysit him.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
This is going to be an interesting season. I can just feel it.
Yeah, I can feel it too.
Has been already, but this point battle as it rages on is going to be interesting. Well, Kevin Harvick gracious in defeat after dominating 165 laps here. We'll have more from Loudon after this. Upcoming races for the NASCAR Busch Series on the Fox family of networks. Next Sunday, a week from tomorrow, Nazareth, Pennsylvania, 12:30 Eastern Time on FX. And then at Charlotte, North Carolina, we'll be on Fox Saturday of Memorial Day weekend, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And then on FX, Saturday, June 2nd, from the mile at Dover Downs, 12:30 Eastern Time from Dover. Let's catch up with our 5th place finisher, Jeff.
That's right. We call it with Kenny Wallace. Hey, Herman, pretty good run today, bud.
Yeah, it was. It was quiet, and that's what we were looking for. Great racetrack, great facilities here, but, it was about a lane and a half wide today, and it was pretty edgy. But all in all, the Goulds Pump Chevrolet stayed steady all day long, and we just got real strong on green runs. And we needed a caution, but then yet we didn't want to see one because we didn't want to have to race too wide there towards the end.
Well, you guys could go the rest of the way on fuel, so you really didn't want to see that caution, did you?
It was close, but, I said a couple times, what are we looking like? And Jerry Cannon, my crew chief, was spotting today because Fat Boy, my normal spotter, couldn't make it up here. It was pretty funny, my crew chief communicating with the boys down here in the pits, and all in all, we were going to make it, but it still was going to be close, but we were comfortable with it.
Kenny, we always want to know how things going with your Winston Cup car as we get ready to head into Charlotte. Are we going to see you there?
All I can tell you is this. Call Geico Auto Insurance and tell them, please, because right now it's up to Ted Ward at Geico. They've been back and forth with us. They're trying to justify sponsoring, the Eel River Pontiac, and we really need it, man. We can sell them some policies, and I just need all the fans to gang up out there and help me, and call Geico Auto Insurance and tell them, hey, get on Kenny Wallace's car. I think that we can show them that, we can sell some product. That's what it's about, Jeff,
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to run make the call real quick. How about you, Dick Berggren? Can you make that call for him?
I will make that call for Herman. He certainly deserves to have that sponsorship, and Greg Biffle deserved to have a better finish than he got today. Look how hard he was driving. Boom, bounced her off the wall. What happened? Stove up the side of the car.
Well, about halfway through the race, just got tight leaving the corner there and scraped the backstretch wall, but lucky enough it didn't hurt the Granger Ford any, so we were able to keep going. Just off a little bit all day today. There at the end, I think we're getting it close, but, the guys tried real hard, and I tried real hard, and just not what we wanted.
We have heard from Kevin Harvick. What is your side of the interaction between the two of you?
Well, it kind of starts from last week. I got wrecked at Richmond, and I didn't say it was Kevin's fault. I felt it was just a racing deal, And then, he gets on TV and says, I'm going to have to learn this isn't the truck series. And I didn't think that was appropriate, considering that we were just racing hard at Richmond, and I got down in the corner hard, and he got a little loose, got up into me, and turned me around. That's just racing. And then this week, he had plenty of opportunities a couple times to let me back in the lead lap. The 0-2 blew a tire over there. It was a melee. Everybody's trying to avoid crashing. Got the leader's bias right there and raced back to the caution. That was okay. The second time, raced back to the caution again. It looked like he tried to let the 7 go, but then got back in the throttle. I saw his nose lift up and beat me by a foot. And just didn't want to give me my lap back. And so I just had to race for all I was worth, just trying to get back in the lead lap. And that's what any racer will do, is just give their team the best finish they can. And, we were just racing hard. I don't know what you know, he was pretty upset after the race. I mean, obviously the 57 car was a tremendous amount better than he was. Kevin couldn't even get within 4 car lengths or 3 car lengths there toward the end.
Tell me about next week. We go to Nazareth. Does this continue in Nazareth? Do you owe him one?
No, I don't owe him one, and I don't feel that he owes me one. And I didn't felt when we came here, you know, it was a level playing field. I had no bad feelings against him or anything. I was a little upset about what he said, you know, but you know, that's just racing. You know, we can't race on feelings. We got to race for our teams.
See you in Nazareth. Let's go to Jeff.
That's right, Dick. Caught up here with Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy, backup car. Not too bad of a run considering you finished up 13th.
Yeah, it was a great run for the Excedrin Monte Carlo, and I got to thank all the boys back at the shop for you know, our backup car. It was as good as our primary car, and that's because of all the hard work they do at the shop. And I think we had a good top 10 going today. And when Ryan Newman cut his tire down, we were on the outside of him, and it took us up to the wall. And the leaders got by, put us down a lap, and then we were fighting from there for the last 25 or so at the end. But all in all, a solid day, and I got to thank everybody at Excedrin and Herzog Motorsports for the hard work.
So right there, whenever Ryan cut that tire down, you told me a minute ago it got pretty hairy right about the time. Everybody just about run over him, right?
Yeah, it was ugly. He got up high out of 2 and must have ran over something. When we went into turn 3, it cut down right when I was on the outside of him, and it took me all the way to the fence. And I thought, man, here comes the second car for the weekend. But fortunately, we made it through the hole and don't have much work on this one.
Well, like he said, he didn't have much work to do. It was a good run for them. Mike?
And that practice crash wasn't his fault. He got in the oil that was dropped by a car ahead of him and lost control. Jason Keller celebrates with his team in victory lane, the 15th different Busch Series winner here at New Hampshire International Speedway in 15 races. There's a look at your top 10. All of those are lead lap cars.
Elton Sawyer stayed on the lead lap all day, and that 98 car comes home 9th.
And these cars are 1 lap down.
Scott Wimmer in a backup car finishes 17th. Ryan Newman, who was right there with the leaders a lot earlier in the race, ends up 15th. Andy Santerre, Lee had his problems, brake problems. He was at the front of the pack all day long.
And on back through the 37 cars that started today's race. Coming up next at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on FX, Mike Piazza and the New York Mets will travel to San Francisco and visit Pac Bell Park to take on Barry Bonds and the Giants. It's a rematch of last year's Division Series, and it's all next right here on FX, the Fox networks for NASCAR, and now Major League Baseball. We'll be right back with more from New Hampshire International Speedway after this. You're watching NASCAR on FX. Still a packed house here at New Hampshire International Speedway. But next week, we'll be in Charlotte for Winston Cup practice on Fox Sports Net on Friday, followed by qualifying and practice for the Winston here on FX. Then next Saturday, it's all FX for the ARCA race, the Winston Open, and the Winston on Stock Car Racing's All-Star Night. Then Nazareth next Sunday, the NASCAR Busch Series. Still a packed house here because Kelly Moore is about to lead them around to the green flag for the NASCAR Busch Series. They'll go 100 miles for the entertainment of the folks in the stands here at Loudon, New Hampshire. But in our NASCAR Busch Series, the points will now stand like this. Kevin Harvick's lead over Jeff Green increases to 56 points. Harvick led the most laps, finished 2 spots in front of Green today. Jason Keller edges a little closer in 3rd. Greg Biffle still a solid 4th, but now only 3 drivers within 200 points of the lead.
Mike McLaughlin still hangs in there in 5th, even after having the problem today, but stayed on the lead lap, finishes 10th. Todd Bodine in the 00. Of course, they did not run this race here. He fell from the top 10 all the way back to 13th.
And a look on back through the top 30, including some drivers like Mike Skinner, who have not competed in all of the Busch Series races. One area driver had a lot of local support in the stands and had hopes of a high finish, but here's Jeff.
That's exactly right, Mike. But Andy Santerre had another great run going today, but what happened?
Well, we broke something in the brakes. I don't know if it was a brake line or whatever. And this is the only car we've got. It's a brand new car, and kind of built it the way I wanted. And I only had 1 master cylinder on it. I was trying to save weight to run these flat tracks, and it bit us. I lost a brake line or something on the rear, or a seal or something, and all the brake fluid ran out. So I ran about 25 laps with no brakes and was holding my own. But when the pedal finally hit the floor, I said, well, boys, we've got to come in and fix it. So had a great race going. I want to thank E.J. Prescott for coming on board with us. And Russo's window tinting, they helped us out. So we'll be back. We're not sure yet which track we're going to next, but we've run good this year, and I'm real proud of my guys.
Well, Andy, you think there's an opportunity you're going to get a chance to go to Nazareth or run some more Busch races? Because you always run strong. Bristol, you were really good. Had a chance to win there. Today, you look really strong also. So what's the rest of the year look like?
Well, Jeff, we're not sure right now. We're working on sponsorship, but if we can get someone to jump on board to this Santerre Reese Motorsport Chevy, we'll go to a lot more. We'd like to go every week, but right now sponsorship's pending, and we're just going to pick and choose if we don't get anything. And you might see us at Milwaukee. That's the next one we've got scheduled. So that's a track similar to this one, and hopefully we can go there and have a good run.
Another one of those guys that's saying, just get the right sponsorship and take a sponsor up front. Dick Berggren?
Yeah, Magic Shoes Mike McLaughlin for sure. The Talladega winner. You've won 2 in one day here. Not today. Tell us about that wild ride when you went spinning around.
We've definitely had better days. Everybody was bunched up there at the end. Few people impatient. Ended up getting turned around. I didn't think we were too bad, though. We went back to green. I got under a few cars coming off 2, went into 3, and didn't have the race car I had before the restart. But 10th, not a bad day. It's a great team. Joe Gibbs Racing and Tim Schutt's done a good job. We'll make a nice home for a sponsor to come on board.
It will, and we will see you in Nazareth.
1 week from tomorrow, the NASCAR Busch Series returns on FX on the uniquely shaped mile at Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Well, the fans coming out of the campers for their Busch North Series race, and we'll be back to wrap things up from Loudon, New Hampshire after this. Well, we talked about young guns at the top of the show. Let's not forget Jason Keller is just 30 years old, winner of this race, and 25-year-old Kevin Harvick finishing second.
I guess Jason Keller, he's been running the Busch Series for so long, you just think of him as a veteran.
Just seems like he's been here forever. There's another look at the top 10 and back through the 20th spot. Not a great day for the young guns, but there will be better days.
Loudon's a tough place to have a good day when you're a young gun.
Tough place on experienced drivers as well. There's a bunch of them in that second half of the field as well.
Well, Kevin LePage getting that shot in that one car, last week's race-winning car, and gets in that early crash.
Well, he got a shot in the rear end, and that was kind of that. Well, we've had a fun day up here in the Lakes region of New Hampshire. I think we ought to put Hammond back on that motorcycle and send him for another lap to the lake.
He better go find his hotel. Charlotte's only a week away.
It's in Wolfboro. It's on the eastern shore of Lake Winnipesaukee. Nice view across the water to the sun. But the Hollywood Hotel, and Chris Myers and Darrell Waltrip will be back next week, and we'll all be at Charlotte for Stock Car Racing's All-Star Night. And I know just what really makes that pump things up in these shops that are all close by Charlotte Motor Speedway when it comes time to run the Winston.
Well, it's their home track, and I've been a part of the Winston for a number of years. Won races there. I've hauled carnage out of there. One night in 1992, we figured out how to do both on one night. Won the race and wrecked. So it's an interesting all-star event.
It's going to be a fun one. Let's go down for final thoughts, down to the pits. Let's first check with Dick Berggren.
Well, the race doesn't always go to the fastest man. If it did, this car with Kevin Harvick would have been in victory lane. Sometimes it goes to the man who thinks he can. Today it went to the guy who got himself positioned at the tail end with 4 fresh tires. Made all the difference in the world for Jason Keller. A big day for him. To Jeff.
Dick, couldn't agree more. The one thing I noticed about these Busch races, each one we go to, they start sometimes a little bit slow, and you start trying to figure these guys out, but before they end, man, they come on like gangbusters, and they make you have to get a headache trying to figure out who's going to do what and why. Another great race, and as we look toward next week and go to Charlotte, I want to echo what Larry Mack said. Can't wait to turn those lights on and watch those guys get it done under the lights. It's an exciting time at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Well, it took a long time today, Larry, for that strategy to play out, and Jason Keller was not a contender in the early part of this, but he sure came on at the finish, and he's the man with the trophy and the big check. Today's race was produced by Pam Miller, directed by Rich Russo. David Blatt was pit producer, and tech producers were David Graham and Kevin McRoby. Coordinating producer of NASCAR on FX is Richie Zients. For Larry McReynolds, Jeff Hammond, and Dick Berggren, I'm Mike Joy, congratulating Jason Keller, the 15th different winner in 15 Busch races at New Hampshire International Speedway. We'll see you next weekend in Charlotte.